Right now at 6, a historic structure up in flames. It's the third fire at a regional park this month. And this time, it's being investigated as a possible arson. Plus,
could not escape the sense that, all right, here's an outbreak starting on a cruise ship. What's going on?
Well, local experts are sharing about the Hantavirus. At the same time, we learn the Bend doctor, who is both a passenger and physician, is now in isolation for potentially testing positive.
And later, the feds were quick to tout dozens of arrests at ICE protests in Portland. So why did almost none of those cases end with prison time?
But first to our top story, and yet another arrest in connection with a Vancouver child sex abuse case involving a pediatrician. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pitawanich. A warning, this story involves details that are absolutely difficult to hear. Celine Stevens is live for us outside the Clark County Courthouse. Celine, what do we know about this latest suspect?
David and Christine, well, her name is Anna Hartley, and she's now facing charges of child molestation and trafficking. Court documents allege that she was aware that this child was being touched inappropriately by this pediatrician, yet she continued to take her to his home anyway.
This is an ongoing pattern of very severe child sexual abuse.
Anna Mae Hartley was arrested Monday and now faces charges of child molestation and trafficking in the first degree. Anna, the third arrest and fourth person linked to the growing child sex abuse case in Vancouver.
When the search warrant was executed, Mrs. Hartley was had another child at their house, a child that's not related. The state has concerns that Anna Hartley has access to other children.
Anna's husband, Chad Hartley, was arrested initially and now faces charges related to child pornography, child molestation, and trafficking. Prosecutors say Anna knew her husband had a sexual interest in the victim and knew he was harming the child as well.
She still left this child with the husband, Chad Hartley, and took the child to Wilmington's house, the co-conspirator who is now deceased, multiple times.
Chad Hartley, a medical assistant at Peace Health Fisher's Landing Clinic, was friends with local pediatrician Michael Wilmington, who worked at Kaiser Salmon Creek in Vancouver. The two met at a nudist bowling event, introduced to one another, investigators say, by William Snyderwine, who has also since been arrested. Wilmington, who was accused of hosting naked sleepovers, was found dead of an apparent suicide on May 2nd after authorities issued a felony warrant for his arrest. Court documents detail chat logs between Anna and Wilmington.
We know from her phone that there were multiple images of the 6-year-old little girl that were sent to Mr. Wilmington, the now deceased co-conspirator, in various states of being undressed.
It's revealed Wilmington also had other children at his house through the messages as well, which Anna allegedly knew.
The state is gravely concerned for the safety of this child and for the public safety of this defendant.
So court documents also say that it appears that Wilmington provided medical guidance, medication, and even had a gift list for that child, which Anna was aware of. She's now being held on a $300,000 bail, and her next court date is on May 18th. Back to you.
Celine Stevens reporting live from Vancouver. Thank you, Celine. And to another disturbing case involving child sex abuse tonight, this time in Washington County. A jury indicted a 54-year-old Tigard man on more than a dozen charges, including rape. Tigard police say they first learned about the case in March and believe the man repeatedly abused a minor over the course of more than 3 years. Police say they will not disclose the victim's relationship to the man, who remains in the county jail. And a reminder, if you or someone you know is a survivor of sexual assault, help is available 24/7. One resource is the National Sexual Assault Hotline. The number is there on your screen. That is 800-656-4673.
Let's get to your headlines now. We have just learned the Louisville Regional Park north of Battleground will reopen tomorrow after a fire destroyed the main picnic shelter. The fire marshal investigating the blaze as a possible arson, they say. Crews say the shelter was engulfed when they arrived around 1 this morning. Now, earlier this month, there were 2 other fires in that same park, one that burned a tree, another that damaged a bathroom and a trash can.
Well, I think there's probably going to need to be cameras in the park because we've had so many incidents.
I live in Battleground, and I'm really sad to see that people abuse our natural resources, and now it's ruining a good day for a lot of people.
No kidding. The shelter that burned is one of 6 in the park built in the 1930s. The area around it will remain closed even as the rest of the park reopens.
And we've got some positive fire-related news tonight. The Pine Mountain fire south of Bend is now fully contained after burning nearly 2,600 acres. The fire started in the Deschutes National Forest last Thursday as a planned burn that grew out of control.
Meanwhile, federal fire restrictions in both Oregon and Washington take effect on Thursday. It means things like fireworks, exploding targets, and sky lanterns, among other things, are banned. The Bureau of Land Management says these restrictions help reduce the risk of human-caused fires. Breaking the rules could lead up to a fine of up to $100,000 and or up to a year in prison. Matt?
All right, David, we've got a change in the weather that's happening right now, and with it, the valleys will cool off, but thunderstorms are still a possibility, especially up over the Cascades. We're beginning to get some better development from the clouds as we look south and southwest from our sky cam at Timberline Lodge right now. 61 degrees, and so far the winds aren't up too strongly there, and we're not getting any returns in western Oregon yet. We've got a band of rain off the coast that does not look very impressive, but we'll get some pretty decent rain in the morning hours. There have been thunderstorms in eastern Oregon. Started down by Burns, settled down. Now they fired up again over the Elkhorn. So you folks in Baker City and up towards LeGrand, keep an eye on the sky to your west and to your south. These are moving, racing really to the north and northeast at a pretty good clip. But again, we are getting lightning strikes over in that part of the state. As I mentioned, we hit 84 today. So very warm, not record warm, but very warm. Notice how it's cooler down the valley because the marine air has already made inroads there. But look, southwest winds at McMinnville at 12, northwest winds at Scappoose at 13, southwest winds at Eugene at 15, all indicating that that cooler coastal air is making its way to the Willamette Valley now. However, those thunderstorms may just ignore that low-level cooling and develop above it. So isolated thunderstorms still in the forecast for tonight, even though it's turning cooler and it will get breezy overnight. Tomorrow, morning rain, but then it morphs into just sun and showers. We'll get some good sun breaks in the afternoon as temperatures top out in the 70s, so a much cooler day. And then on Friday, showers again late Friday and more on Saturday. So again, quite the change after being very warm for the first part of May, guys.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Talk more soon.
Well, now to an update on the Hantavirus outbreak, where this evening we have learned a doctor from Bend who was on board that cruise ship has now potentially tested positive for the virus.
He is now in isolation at a Nebraska medical facility and gave this update today.
I'm not ill, but the term I hear a lot is abundance of caution. I'm here to be monitored closely, and this is a very secure facility. So if I am to get sick and spill virus, there's no way that virus is getting out of this building.
Good to know. Now, Dr. Stephen Kornfeld says doctors are waiting for new test results to say for sure if he's got the virus. But as you heard, he says he does not have any symptoms.
Hoping for the best for him. Meanwhile, local health experts talked about what they see as low chances of the further spread of the Andes virus. Libby Dowson spoke with an infectious disease expert at OHSU. Libby?
Well, David and Christine, he says it's really too early to know how this will all play out. But he and the folks over at Vector Control in Multnomah County who deal with mice and rodent issues say the chances of this spreading into a global pandemic are very low.
Given our history over the last 6 years or so, could not escape the sense that, all right, here's an outbreak starting on a cruise ship. What's going on?
Dr. Bill Messer, an infectious disease expert and professor at OHSU, believes the risk is low for a hantavirus global pandemic. But he says there are still questions about new transmissions that need to be evaluated.
We need to watch and not be dismissive of symptoms or risk of people who are sitting, close to people on airplanes, things like that, because we really just don't know.
Messer says this appears to be the same Andes virus that first appeared in the 1990s in South America, with person-to-person transmission. Hantavirus can usually be traced back to exposure to mice and rat droppings. Those at Multnomah Vector Control say there's only been one case of hantavirus in the county in the past decade, and the patient survived. They say prevention is key.
What are the biggest mistakes you see people making? I think it's just thinking that, it'll never happen to me and just kind of diving headfirst into these really dusty, dirty areas.
Levi Zahn says it's important to play it safe around garages, sheds, anywhere deer mice could be spreading disease.
You just leave the door open like this. If there's windows on the shed or building, we open those up, let that breeze go through for at least 20 minutes, longer if possible.
He says to wear protective clothing, a mask and eye protection when cleaning up mouse or rat nests. Don't use a vacuum or broom, which can send the virus airborne. And wash down items with a 9-to-1 bleach mixture.
You just go in there and you spray all the surfaces that you see where there's a bunch of dust on it.
He recommends blocking access holes larger than a dime with steel wool or grating.
Have a lot of stuff laid up against the side of the building, so the rats and the mice like to kind of hide behind those things.
And the professor has his lecture on hantavirus this Friday for students here at OHSU. He says with all this information coming in, including that update on the Ben doctor, his lesson will be changing day by day. Back to you guys.
Libby Dowsett on Markham Hill this evening. Thanks, Libby.